Okay. Kongi te sinye sonne ta tanju pomsi tambichi matas. Kodom de la chanza lo. Ane tsomala tashi dele shado. Ane drita ane ngisha zu de ta kedon kazo jena jena konsan chogi ba gadel hajamato. Ane samje to sokol ane ke sonchi no arendo. Tiza ane ta kedon konsan chok gadel hajamato su soara masoti. Hangasotri ane gadel hajama kolotis drona.
So hello everyone. So this is a revision session for His Holiness's teachings, and originally His Holiness said he would talk about what is called Ganden Lagyama, which is 100 deities of Tushita if you translate it to English. So His Holiness said he would talk about that and do the generation of bodhicitta. Of course, in the teaching, His Holiness did not actually speak that much about the practice of 100 deities of Tushita, but we're going to go ahead and explain it because we think it'll be better.
Ane ta gadel hajama de kedon ane gilubitum maimbi lami namjojires.
And so I have to remember to say it in English. The 100 deities. If I say something in Tibetan that I'm not translating, poke me. The 100 deities of Tushita is specifically a Gelugpa guru yoga practice.
Ta ane gilubala ane kedon lami namjote ane mombo yorati ti noni trachiwa samde ane wensa luki ane ta laman chibade ane lami namjo jirumchi korola tembi lami namjo chidon yo ane ngaso tanda seji luki tanda gadel hajamata che ane seji luki gadel hajamata seji luki zata tanda ngaso gadel jumek jize shiro singine jubi
So there's many different types of guru yoga practices. And in the Gelugpa tradition, perhaps the most famous one is the Lama Tsongkhapa, or the Lama offering practice, which is a practice that the Gelug tradition does quite frequently. The Tsongkhapa Gyu Yang Lama Tsongkhapa
Tanda Lama Tsongkhapa de wensa nye jizeni. Wensa balozo tenro za jura. Ti juni onjor.
So the Wensa through the lineage of that specific practitioner. And so the practice that we're going to talk about is a Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, the Ganden Lagyama, which is another important Guru Yoga practice. Sherab Sengi. So this comes from the lineage of Jetsun Sherab Sengi.
Ane kiro rumbachi koro chibolo noi tadri lami namja tadri yo isares.
There's also a Guru Yoga practice that came from the lineage of Kejubje, who's one of the disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa, but these days maybe this is not practiced so much.
Ta ane tombode ane tanda ngaso gadem hajama jura. Tombode ane jize shiro singi khonso kabla pa songchu cheni pa songwaji tomboje. Tini rambi kalili pagi ngatsundana ba sanji pardeza jidwa kongo pa ane yongda jija ba.
So when Jetsun Sherab Sengi first practiced and taught the Ganden Yagama, this was a secret practice. But slowly over time, this practice has become more open and more well known.
Takido ane lami namje zena tenda karre zena Lama gila yubi toba de susu ke gila ane chima chushin jiya ki toba ke ane chima chushi susu gila njor toba gila ane lami namje zegiras.
So when we talk about Guru Yoga practice, what is this practice of Lama versus Guru Neljor's practice, a Lama Neljor Guru Yoga practice? What is this practice? Well, to say it very succinctly, this practice is essentially a method of receiving the realizations of the Guru into your own mind stream.
Ane lami namjo de ke chimbo shirares. Ngaro tsugila ane toba ganda jikiro ane ta tsongma de lama la tene kigiyo. Lama namjo de ke chimbo ane chadeyores.
And so this Guru Yoga practice is really important because we have to look at how can we have these realizations in our mind stream. And so it is really in reliance on the Lama, the Guru, that we're able to have these realizations, to generate these realizations in our mind stream.
Ane pena jize milanda uchi na pa ane marpa lo zawa de Geshe Lama Tsongkhapa de teni ane kawa ke lami kaji domni ane tsindala zonji sanji kompo taba o dendires.
So, for example, when we think about Marpa and Milarepa, so Milarepa, in reliance on his great guru Marpa, he was able in one lifetime to actually generate become a Buddha.
제전 라미 남자자들 다 뽑아기사 그 전다오지 파 초사사 그 초사나 초사도 치와도요 니바사나 파 니바 첩체보지사 그 안에 저다 차대요레스.
So we can think of the guru is a very powerful sort of basis both for generating great merit and for also, so if we generate merit on the basis of the guru, we generate great merit. But also if we generate negative actions, if we do negative actions with respect to the guru, then of course we generate very strong negative karma as well.
안에 냐마 데 안에 다 라마 예도 소지 파운 칸두자 탐제 논이 개치셔다우데 안에 라마 차대요레스.
Lama Yidam. So among the three, you have the Lama, the Yidam,
sanji,
which we can think of. Yidam is the Sanskrit word for we call meditational deities. The deity word can be a little confusing, but there's not really a great word in English. So the Lama, meditational deities, in Buddha. Of those three, the most important, actually of those three, the most precious or the most important, we would say, actually is the Lama.
아니 내가 아주 멀발로 자와 야갈로 페니 아니 나루바 아니 라마를 때 되니 니마치 아니 나루바 그 텐데 타비체도 아니 그런기 아니 바기 예동 기바도 지자지 아니 정거 텐도 텐비 정거 탐제지 전에 아니 멀바 깨도니 아니 결혼 아니 파셔 결혼 그 예동 아니 딘딘 넘칼로 지도스 아니 결혼 라마라 차차이도 아니 예동 기바도 지로 차차이지 아니 깨차트레스
마바키 라마
나루바
See, Naropa Latini
나루바 그 전조라 기바도 지
So there's a story of Marpa and Naropa. So Marpa was the disciple of Naropa. Naropa was a great Indian city, and so one day Naropa manifested the meditational deity of Marpa, which we would say is Hevajra, and the whole sort of retinue in front of Marpa, and so Naropa, how am I forgetting this? Naropa. Yeah, Naropa manifested Marpa's meditational deity in all of the retinue and said, okay.
아니 결혼 그 예담 되기는 칼로 펜도스 결혼 안에 라마라 찬사이도 예담라 찬사이지 아니 다 안에 머바가 삼발라 다 안에 라마 같이는 지야요래 다 예담데 다리 텐지 마던 지야라서 말에 아니 고니 아니 고 예담라 찬사이기 삼발레
So there's Naropa who's manifested the Marpa's whole sort of meditational deity and whole retinue, and Naropa asks Marpa, okay, so here's your meditational deity, and I'm your Lama. Who are you going to prostrate to? And Marpa thinks, well, I can prostrate to you, my Lama, anytime, but it's not every day I get to prostrate to my meditational deity, so I would do that.
제가 안에 디기 안에 다디 예담로 찬사디 잠발라다 안에 나르바 가르솜바르잖아 결혼 텐덴치 소스 그러니까 아니 라마 메비 나라나 선지자지 요마레스
Lama maybe.
아 예담죠 아니 라미 트바레마토 아니 딜리젬베 예담지 요마레스네 다기 코로 그 전적이 지바두지 그 예담데 닌칼마 탐바레스 딜리셰스
Ninka matam.
닌칼마 탐바레스 닌칼마 템지 바레스
Ina di karichani matam.
코로 그 전적라 다기 디 지바두지데
Oh, Naropa Lama.
나르발도
Okay. And so Naropa says, no, this is absolutely incorrect. You should prostrate first to the Lama, because it is only because of the Lama that one is able to achieve Buddhahood. So without the Lama, there is no Buddhahood, there is no Buddha, and these meditational deities are manifestations of Buddha. So it's really through the Lama that these deities even exist. So you should first prostrate to your Lama. And then at that time, the Teishno deity and all of the retinue dissolved into the heart mind of Naropa, Marpa's teacher. Come in, it's okay. Please.
대 안에 대 사자다 남제 송아 나로라 아니 라마 메비 코로나 소지자 요마이 그와 똥기 소지죠 라마 탈라테니 조자 텐디셰서요스 라마 메비 나로나 라마 메비 나로나 소지자지 요마레스
Sangyama.
그와 똥기 소지 탐세죠 라마 라테니 좀바레스
So there's a saying that basically says that without the Lama, there is no possibility of there being a Buddha.
그와 똥기 소지죠 라마 탈라테니 좀
Okay. And then all of the Buddhas of the 3,000 world systems that have arisen in dependence on a Lama.
어디서 다 라미 넘져자데 나서 돌리잖아데 안에 성학을 니차를 안에 배 개침부 지차되요레스.
And so that we think we should think of the Lama as being incredibly important. It's true both in the sutra teachings and in the tantra teachings.
다저로 안에 라마를 다 건데마도 라마 기까지 마도 던지잖아. 결혼 문이 같이 갈리 잡아야나요. 아니 질라 냠토 키야 매 아니 매바 땡큐 바레스.
Si Lama la yapo dena. And so if you do rely well on your Lama, on a Lama, then as much as you work hard and practice, then you will definitely have experiential realizations on the path.
어디서 다 드링아서 가델하자만 군이 아니 마 드시지 잡는도 나한테서.
So now we're going to go through the actual practice, which of course the introduction here is because this is a Guru Yoga or Lama Yoga practice. So now we're going to go through this actual practice of the 100 Deities Tushita, which is one type of So we can say generally that the Ganden Lagyama, 100 Deities of Tushita, is sort of the structure of the 100 Deities of Tushita is the 7-limb practice or 7-limb practice.
다데 안에 연락되게 가르잖아. 수수 안에 델라 안에 라마지 서도 당가서 디칼라 지엄스서도 서도고라. 대 안에 뜻을 서담니 그소 서담니 그소라 안에 찬서와도 안에 제바지와도 드바샤바 안에 게와라 지스 여러와도 안에 추진 칼루코와 서완도 봐도 안에 냥엘레 문다와 템버 지스와 안에 다마 무아데 대 뎀보데 다이엘라데 차데 사레스.
So just briefly, the 7-limb practice, to briefly state it, is that you visualize that your Lama is in front of you, and then with that visualization in front of you, you go through what we would call the 7 limbs, which is, we could say, is that sort of the invocation. So it's prostration, confession, or sort of purification of wrongdoings, offering the rejoicing in the good merit of others, and then requesting the teacher to continue to teach the Dharma and requesting the teachers to remain for a long time, and then you would dedicate.
다 연락 뎀본데 아니 파 체추 가르요레즈나 연락 뎀본디노라 아니 가서 기와 사바도 저버ጆ한 니차데 디데요레스.
And so why do we have these 7 things? What is the point of these sort of 7 steps? Well, the real important point of these 7 steps is that contained within them, we can both generate merit and we can purify obscurations or misdeeds.
다 사ጆ니즈나 츠톤토레디 연아인 디노라 다 전치 선비 냠레 요조도 디노는 디데요레스. 전치 냠레 차선. 사조니노는 디데요레스.
So we also can say that in this practice of generating merit and purifying obscurations or negative actions, contained within this really is also all of the practices of a bodhisattva.
베나가서 안에 젠카르 텐토다 바이나 젠카데 테켄 잡고도 안에 걸게메 받들지고도 디노시레 젠카라 텐토바 텐토
Tintokai.
Tento mo bara. Tento mo.
Tinto.
Farming.
Oh, farming. Okay. So, for example, when you think about farming or planting crops, right, there's lots of causes and conditions you need to have a good harvest.
Pena ane jinka nolola do me bato. Ane do yo. Ane jinte yon sade yabu me wa sa pa sa jin tadi. Yana dan gerchin. Jin tento kyo la gerchin.
So if you're trying to raise crops, if you don't have good soil, then of course nothing will grow. You will not be successful.
Ane chodo lodo ane truto so tenkere de yoras.
Of course, you also need sort of sun, water, fertilizer, and these other things as well.
Di no je ngazo gila ane nyamto toba kiwala gila toba kiwala ane gerchin pagi ane tiksong ge nyemo de so ane meba to. Tenkere de ane tidopitro. Tidopitro ta lami namjo ro to so ane to so gu yoras.
So, for example, and then so in this case, right, what we're trying to do is have realizations on the path. And in order to have realizations on the path, just like in farming where we have to have the right conditions, but we have to reduce the influence of the afflictions in our mind stream and increase the influence of the positive conditions through generation of merit. Virtue. We have to increase the amount of virtue in our mind stream, which is a positive condition.
Gadil hajama nguni ma ane chindrona tambu karrazana gadil hajam goji thigane roko jasa pondre chinzi chi yobu kanjelo zara sido jibani the shas zade ane di sare ane thoma susu ko chosa sa ki jinro jura choje kindren ba susu bunde la ane kindren ba di sare.
So I'm going to read the first verse of the Genjin Lhagyama. And so this first verse says, "From the heart of the savior of the 100 deities of Tushita, on the peak of a cloud resembling a clump of extremely white fresh curd, king of Dharma, omniscient Losang Drakpa, please come together here with your sons." And so this is essentially inviting, you're visualizing the Lama. So this is inviting the Lama to come.
Ane dinone da gadil hajja ingon zena karazana gadin zadanga so dela rutu yora. Dela rutu no ni gadin ga ni la ju bi jite chango chambango mo. Kongi tuka zena nyenka ne. Ane tanda ane nyenka kini. Ane temba jo roma no je ane temba tole ane temba di ganla chuji jobo kanche lozo trabada. Ane jerso jito ane kito jito so ane pekre samba tadi sarta guisares.
And so when you recite this is a practice that you're reciting. And so when you recite this, what you imagine, so when it says the 100 deities of Tushita, Tushita is one of the pure lands. It's the pure land of the Buddha Maitreya, which is the future Buddha. And so you imagine the pure land of Maitreya, and then from the heart of Maitreya, you imagined Lama Tsongkhapa and his two major disciples, Kejupje and Gyaltsabje, and they sort of float down towards you on a cloud, an extremely white, beautiful cloud.
Ane tigandela da susu ngaro do chibi simche tamche de ane pa console kanko bi ane mubanze.
They can give you
the Patagi ane Gios Sunday del Pedora. Then ngaro do chibi susu go daw nye changma suche tamche pa kankani ane console ane de kankani de with the sort of what is.
So as you make this invitation and you imagine that Lama Tsongkhapa is coming from the heart of the Buddha Maitreya on this cloud, flanked by Gyaltsabje and Kejupje, you also should imagine it's not just you there making this invitation. It's actually you're surrounded by your family, your dear ones, your enemies, and all sentient beings are sort of surrounding you and behind you, there with you doing this practice.
Ane Tindi Kende Jila, Ane Dagi Thomas Sawada be in Latres.
So that part.
Just Sawada.
And so after we've made we've made this invitation for the Lama, in this case Lama Tsongkhapa, to come, Then we have the what we'd say that the limb of requesting the Lama to remain for a long time.
Diga resident dengi nangka centipede tezedin dengi nangka la yubi singin tree singi yegi tabin tree tenla jize lama zedi da jidan chibu Tsongkhapa don ani yatsab jitu ani kiro jiposo ani jibin zawga jezedi pa ani tu gibu shibu jeni ani zam tso teni o yubaji sarta ani tso ani susu nyeng ani debi 수수 대바 자사기 젠초라 젠초 지도 수수 대바 소나사사기 젠초 지도 아니 요메나 템바지 위체도 아니 그치 예람보 지로치 zeni 소와도가 티사레스.
And so the idea here in the line says, Jetsun Gurus with your bright delighted smiles in the sky before me upon a lotus moon seat and lion thrones. As the supreme field of merit for my faithful mind, please remain to spread the 100 eons. So you imagine Lama Tsongkhapa, and he's on what we would call a lotus moon seat and lion throne, and this is the basis of your sort of great faith in the Lama, and so for that reason you ask him to please remain for hundreds of eons.
아니 대터 슈바 아니 셔지지소 킬렌소 사선지 아니 무반제 그랬어. 지름 부지기 이제 마기 아니 셔지지바.
Oh, and then you imagine, you visualize that that Lama Tsongkhapa agrees, assents to your request and says, yes, I will remain.
아니 다니바데 찬서 예라. 레데유레스.
And so the next limb here is the limb of prostration.
다 찬서와자데 가르르즈나 지암시성기 그송 트드솔라. And
so here we are prostrating not just with our body, speech, and mind, the three.
다 안에 찬설인 터스토가르 동보 안에 가르 시자 체겐 저희 루트 트세디던 십자가 닐루 용조도 저케기 안에 투질라 덴바. 안에 거존나 이젠젤레시스디 듭자게 안에 고 듭자던 참비 추 님버마와 님버마이 추소와 요자 안에 sonde ane kongson ane timaze ane trabi pajize de za lamin zebi kaze de konge ane ku pa hajo yon thoma tandi ane pan thom to tuba kandi jonayo patrene ane chanso yin yesoso ji de chanso yin la isares.
So the limb of prostration, and of course the order of these limbs are different than I said earlier in the Ganden Yagama, just so you know if you're noticing that. I'll read the lines here. Your exalted mind has the intelligence to comprehend all objects of knowledge. Your eloquent speech adorns the ears of the fortunate. Your luminous body blazes with glorious renown. To you who are meaningful to remember, hear, and see, I prostrate. And so there's a praise here of the incredible mind of the Lama, who is able to sort of comprehend the nature of all things. There's a praise of the Lama whose speech is like nectar, is really beautiful speech, and there's a praise of the Lama in that his body is beautiful and radiant. And so you, in imagining that and thinking that, then you recite this and prostrate, with your body, speech, and mind.
아니 시바데 체바버이라. 단 체바버이라데 가르르즈나 용체 나서 미도도 제오디 잠발 무스샤비 아니 체바 페나 나서 연창라고 미도 나서 봐 지저 농서 아니 말미라 아니 데라 유비 무시암 예트제데 무스샤비 체바 그 페나 다니엔라고 전혀 주라다 담다 아니 샬지야 실라라고 다음 제도 체바비 요메나 유지트바 수수그 삼부도니 아니 so 탐체기 안에 소나 젠초즈나 소나 사사기 젠초라 체반버 is now 37 isares.
So the next limb is the limb of offering. The practice here says pleasant drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incense, lights, scented waters, and so forth. This ocean of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I present as an offering to you, supreme field of merit. And so, of course, is it possible to make physical offerings. You can make physical offerings of light, of incense, of flowers. You can have physical offerings of things like music or musicians. Any of these kind of normal physical offerings that we talk about, you can make. You also can make offerings sort of imagined through your mind, emanated here through your mind. So you imagine all of these offerings. That's also a good way to do that. And then the goal of this is that through making these offerings, you generate really incredible merit.
ane ngabade duba shabiyanla shabiyanla isares ta kar shagurezna susu gilayuba to ane susu chibu zamayimba sunje tamje to chiba susu nyinkorna yubi dan dengi sunje tamje ge dubade ane tere shabayi samni karrezna konji tomedini sabayi lingai kimigi chijido cheba damba sanji montejo yin gebara susu shazete susu cinde zamayimba kiwa toma meba ni sabi duba ane lig duba ane ngaso socheba do ane to zujibi ligi do ane nga zen tama tsala ane ye namsa nesa lota ane chebar damba sanji monte choseti zabala ane johnson to sotar ane songa ki damba sanji monte chokar jiuna to so ane tri tanda sona jenchok chokindela 수수 삼바 타바니 바 안에 샤기에서
심진 탐지기 체대
nga chibo mai ba su 탐지 안에 드바데 샤이 somni 안에 드리텐고 있어.
So the next limb is the limb of confession. So whatever non-virtuous acts of body, speech, and mind that I have accumulated since beginningless time, especially those acts contrary to the three vows, from my heart I deeply regret and confess each and every one. And so when you do this, you should think you're not just thinking about your own negative acts, but the negative acts of all sentient beings that we've done, all of the things that all sentient beings have done. And it's not just for this life, but you want to think about all of the lives that you've had in your continuum, right? That you've done all of these negative acts, and that for all of the sentient beings. And so you can think about all the times you've killed sentient beings, you've had ill will, all of the different possible negative actions that you could have done. You've been jealous, prideful. Also, anytime you could think about any time that you've broken any one of the three vows. So there's what we call the pratimoksha vows, or vows of individual liberation. You have the bodhisattva vows, and you also have the tantra vows. And so not just in this life, but in all of your lives, anytime you think about that you've done you've broken these. You've created negative karma. You've done a negative action. Because of this, you there in front of the Lama, you confess these vows. We confess these transgressions.
아니 두바데 지스 이런지야 기인라. 가르레즈나다 아니 지단이 첨부 뉴미 틴들라 아니 도메 종카여트 컨트롤 아니 잠비 제네 densa thasal yayon phe thasal phe ne ane thusa goba lama mombate ne thusa gonsobje ane montu zeti zambala mombutu badra lama mombate ane mombutu ane dola zeti zambala ane tito nyamdo doba nyale je zembaje ane tindai doba nyale je bade ane jitik chuje zang de masawa ane naso
the Lama Tsongkhapa ki jeba tangma.
Oh, the tila jisiroche kesatra. Ane chuje jite chuje ke tenda maimba. Susu ane tawa je don joa jitso litendo nimbule ya ke che. Ane tik che ti yo chebares. Ti tindai lobche ke zeba dala ngado jibi sunje tamche ke jisiroche yo sa jora. Ti jisirongi ane yelai.
So the next limb is the limb of rejoicing, and I'll read the text here. In this degenerate age, you listen to many teachings and practice them diligently. Because you abandoned the 8 worldly concerns, you made leisure and fortune meaningful. Protector, due to your pure thoughts, we rejoice in your magnificent deeds. Can ni me do karisang? Can ni me do can karisang?
New mitiza the new market indala. Jirambachi new meeting the pepara.
So in this degenerate age, which is now, it's the age where the practices and things are sort of weakening or degenerating. This is a praise. You're rejoicing in the great merit of Lama Tsongkhapa here in this practice is, which is you're visualizing as your guru. So you're rejoicing in that he was such a great scholar. He listened to many teachings, and he didn't just listen to them. He practiced them. He generated realizations because of those teachings. He also abandoned the eight worldly concerns in the sense that he sort of was not worried about the eight worldly concerns and made his life meaningful. And so it's important to really think about the fact that it's not just you rejoicing, but to remember that all sentient beings were rejoicing because his great benefit to all sentient beings.
Dini ane tuba de chungo ko yela za ti sares. Tikarezana ane ngaso namla temban trini charba to ane namla temban trini charba to ane charba saje boni tendo kiwa nanshi. Ane jizelama kerong kiro tajirmachi kerong ki ane chensi ki chenze de derja kola ane kola konder ze nanshi kola sabi bena tiba chimbola mobala tiba chim chimbo bichizo timela mobata ane zabji chuji chabat ane derja kola komu telate ane tenta sers and sawadova ane chubako sawati sares.
So the next limb here in this is the request to turn the wheel of the Dharma. Jetson, excellent gurus, in your Dharmakaya sky, clouds of wisdom and compassion billow. May a rain of profound Dharma spontaneously fall on the field of disciples, however it is needed. And so here we're making the comparison with the teachings and sort of a rain falling, but this rain has this special quality of that it falls, the teachings that we get, may we receive teachings that are actually beneficial for us. For some beings, maybe the great vehicle teachings are beneficial. For some teachings, maybe the, I don't want to say lesser vehicle, what I want to say, the teachings of the Pali tradition are better for them. So whatever tradition suits you at that time, right? May you receive these teachings that are suitable for you, that are beneficial for you at that time.
Ane tamade ane ngui yela dembatra ta karezana ane susu gyaji chetsari jila te nguna ane just sonji mata ba de gyate ane sonji thaba ge jeran jergi rezani anyarsana ujeni the pento yu sares muajat.
So the next the next limb here is the limb of dedication. And the goal, the reason we do this is that the good merit that we've achieved, we want to save it, we want to protect it, we don't want it to go to waste until we dedicate it for enlightenment of all beings. I'll read the actual verse here. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings in all transmigratory beings, and in particular, may it cause the essence of Jetsun Losang Drapa's teachings to shine forever. So the goal here is to take the positive merit that you've generated and essentially guard it.
Ade ngulunguto karezana susu sapi giwa karandachi yonayo ane te temba gira ke jerundua to ane ndua dia ke jerundua te masel habert ane jizelozo traba ke temba de ane pa jitendi gol yerend nini tik samche tenche toba shows ani ane
and so again, the goal here is to really take this positive merit and make it stable, make it solid.
Susu ane giwajura susu sapi giwande temba giwa don droa diwa hapar de jise Tsongkhapa ki tembande jiten di gola yerembo nini tik duten jeba shozeni tadi mo.
Okay. So you're also making this aspiration, you're sort of asking, you're dedicating through this, that the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa here in the teachings, we also say Jetsun Losang Drakpa, but that's also Lama Tsongkhapa, it's the same person with a different name. May his teachings benefit beings for a very long time. So through this dedication, you're making this request. So this is the 7 limbs in the context of the Genden Lhagyo.
Ta dino ni didon drawing ngaso muziman de tona pe ani so sata chimbo tandi songu again so.
And so connected with this is I I guess we pay a prayer. It's a set of verses that's called the Miksema. And this is a very important recitation that's connected with this practice. It's a great way to accumulate virtue, essentially.
다 안에 문지마데 정말 안에 몸에 쓰이 뜻이 계레즈즈디 안에 계레즈도 안에 주변쯤에 오면 잠비였지 안에 도포말은 저 소이다 차나도지 콘서트 콘서트기 안에 체치니서 다 안에 계레즈기 안에 지위다냐 그하라 안에 잠비어데 안에 침비다보가 안에 손다도지데 차나도지데 안에 니비다니가 안에 대삼보 탐지했던 잠사대 다 안에 지다니 지 송카바 캐노레도스 그래서 안에 졸라서한다 이제니 무지마게 된다 도도나 드리지 잘했어.
So the Miksema prayer, I'll go ahead and just read there's different versions, there's different line versions. This is I have the 5-line version here, but Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of non-objectifying compassion, Manjushri, master of stainless wisdom, lord of secrets, destroyer of the entire host of Maras, Tsongkhapa, crown ornament of the sages of the land of slows, Losang Japa, at your feet I make request. So the first line, Avalokiteshvara, is Chinrezi. It's the god of compassion, or the god. Sorry, yeah. I don't know. There's not great words. We don't have gods in that sort of the theistic tradition, but the Buddha, say the Buddha or Bodhisattva of compassion. Manjushri, master of stainless wisdom. The second line is the Bodhisattva, the embodiment of, say, the great wisdom of a Buddha. Lord of secrets, destroyer of our entire host of Maras. The third line is talking about Vajrapani, which is the embodiment of the enlightened power of a Buddha. So what you have here is you have the Kinsei Nusum. So you have essentially these three qualities of the Buddha. You have the enlightened wisdom, you have the enlightened compassion, and you have this enlightened power. And so in this verse, you said the Tsongkhapa Thela di dani sumdi.
somcha zabsade chetsinisa konsonoje yusate Tsongkhapa kero chiburendes.
So in this praise or this line, you're essentially saying that the Tsongkhapa, you're praising that Tsongkhapa has he's embodying these three aspects of the Buddha, the Buddha's wisdom, the Buddha's compassion, and the Buddha's power.
안에 딘디 서완다 어디 삼발라 안에 서완다 서들라 안에 춘 송바 설지 기군이 서완다 바자 춘노 송서 치노 상 춘노 송서 서완다 송 유사레스
and so when you're making it's sort of sawatapa, is that make requests? You're making sort of obseisance or request to him, and you do this through the three. You have the outer, inner, and sort of secret aspects of this request.
다 담보대 첫 송바서지 기군이 서완다 동서야데 간르르서나 다 여와 시지 탐제 노네 봐 아니 저한 현지 전부 다 렌다메사라고데 아니 게레즈레샤스 렌다메사 아니 다 파트 좋아 지푸로데 야쇼라고데
오케이.
여러 시지 탐색이 나오네. 단 생겨나오데 저한요지 전부 생겨나오데 게레즈 디 야쇼드레스
디 진앙기
친송바설지 군서.
And so in the first, we would say the external supplication, what you can think about is this idea that Chinrezi or Avalokiteshvara is among all of the beings, in the whole world system, the universe, it's Chinrezi that is the absolute greatest embodiment of compassion.
아니 딘난신 켐바데요 여와시지 탐세노는 켐반 렌달라나 메바 요사데 잠비오레샤스 아니 니바 라나 메바 요사데 손다도지 레두스 아테 탐세도 쳔바 딕도 냠비 또바 요사데 쳔바제나 바긴 손더드라 안 디돈 쳔바 아니 지다니 쳔보 케로마토 문두스 다디 서완다토데 쳔 송비군이 서완다바 딘 송비군이 송비즈나 디돈 잡고 이어서
and so just like we think of Avalokiteshvara or Chinrezi as this embodiment, the absolute, the greatest embodiment of compassion, and so then you have Manjushri, who is the absolute greatest or strongest embodiment of wisdom, the wisdom of the Buddhas. And then you have Vajrapani, who is the embodiment of the power or potency of the Buddhas. And so you can understand the so these represent these three aspects of Buddha's enlightened power. Okay, I see. So in Lama Tsongkhapa's enlightened, the Buddha body, essentially, the enlightened body of Lama Tsongkhapa, or the enlightened mind body of Lama Tsongkhapa, these three represent the incredible compassion, the incredible wisdom, and the incredible power of that being of Lama Tsongkhapa, the enlightened body of Lama Tsongkhapa. And so the request here is that you just please grant me realizations, just as you have these incredible realizations of compassion, wisdom, and power. Please, may I also receive these as well.
지단이 좀 길라 요바다 형 안에 잠비온 길라 요빈 캠바데 나시 집바 직전지 안에 지단이 좀 길라 요바 지마 지신지 요바더라 안에 야 안에 손다도 길라 요빈 네바 지마 지신지 안에 지단이 좀 길라 요바 다가로 요바데 손바 다기도 동부도 손바라 나보 봐서 다나도 요바 다가 나시 요바
실라 요바 나 요바
지단이 좀 길라 요바
Yeah. So there's the outer, inner, and secret. And so in the outer, we can say that these three aspects of the Buddha were represented by Lama Tsongkhapa. In the inner request, you actually sort of affirm that Lama Tsongkhapa definitely has these qualities, and you sort of make requests to that.
아니 딘데 다 아니 지단이 침부 길라 요비 딘데 체스니서 노진치 달라에 기버쇼 전에 서만다바 아마도.
And so holding this understanding that Lama Tsongkhapa, or Losang Jakpa as is sometimes referred here also as well, definitely possesses these three qualities, then you make the request, may I also possess these three qualities.
다 안에 somebody 안에 소인 하도 뭐 예매도 서만다바 자티
And so the outer, inner, and secret of those three, in the secret is understanding that the Lama, the Yidam, and and then our minds, my own subtle mind stream, are one entity with the Lama and the Yidam.
디노지 자와시지 탐체 그 특수한 요지 첨보들 하이즈스 셔와테 게레스레스 요 자와시지 탐체 그 켐비스 셔와테 잠비오레스 자와시지 탐체 그 니비스 셔와테 예여선데 그렇게 켐바 가스 켐바라 즈유나 잠비오레스 아니 다네 니발라 즈유나 차나도지레스
오케이
다 뜻은 지 아니 다기 아니 지단이 지종하바데 아니 게레즈 기트바다 잠비용 기트바 도서도 뭐 이메레스 고소도.
So we can think of Avalokiteshvara, Chinrezi, Manjushri, and Vajrapani. If, for example, compassion was embodied, Chinrezi would be the physical embodiment of it. If wisdom was embodied, Manjushri would be the embodiment of it. If power was embodied, Vajrapani would be the embodiment of it. And so you understand then that those three are all one entity, and they're one entity with Lama Tsongkhapa. Maybe indivisible also. One entity is a maybe technical term. They're indivisible. They're sort of one essence.
타마델라 안에 다기 소진데 수술 누구래야 두 수술
And so then after you sort of thought about this and made these requests, as much as you're able, you recite these verses, miksema, over and over again, and then when you're done, you absorb the merit field into you.
다또 늘리던 카드가즈나 결섭지동 키도지니보데 지종카바게 안에 koponi에서 딘디 bom바기 이에니나 탐송 상바지고레스.
And so how do you visualize this absorption? The first you visualize, so remember you have Lama Tsongkhapa, and then you have his two closest disciples, Gyaltsabje and Kejubje. So first you imagine that the two disciples absorb into the shoulders of Lama Tsongkhapa.
아니 결섭지동 키도지니 그 주트대요 안에 지름부치 그 주트라마 탐송 상바지.
The
육사그 트이라.
Chila Matamzigi.
지름부치 그 트라 탐송 상바. 주트이라 결섭지도 키도지니 koponi엘로 탐사라. 다 주트라요라. 코니 그 주트 육사그 트라.
네네.
이 안에 지름부치 그 주트라마 탐송 상바지.
이니 제르부체디 알아마티
데 타마라 단다마라 단다
티스미래 티니테서디 직팀
티니데 안에 지름부치 틀라마 타소서
so 제르부체디 티라 팀기래 네
말에 코니기 트요라 결서 지동 키로지 이거 육사기 트요라 육사기 트다버데 지름부치 틀라마 탐소서
so after Gyaltsabje and Kejubje absorb into Lama Tsongkhapa, of course, they both had thrones that they were riding on. So you have to imagine that the thrones absorb into the throne that Lama Tsongkhapa is on as well.
근데 타마데 안에 지단이 친구 지름부치데 안에 수수근디 기닌칼라 안에 싸우마 유사기디 디버르라 안에 배만라우지 안에 들이 디 닌가르도
예 갑자기 닌가르디
딜 닌가 안에 디갓 수수도 초 주바 수수도 초 주바지네 안에 수칼레 칼레 닌가르 마타우소 사바디.
And so then you imagine that Lama Tsongkhapa, he's on a lotus petal throne at this point. He comes to you and turns around so that he's facing the same direction as you and absorbs into your heart center right here.
딘디지 사레스 다 안에 셴바치 샤네 다 좋아들래.
So that's an introduction to this practice, the Gendin Lagyamara 100 Deities of Tushita. If anyone has any questions now, we'll go ahead and take questions. Somebody's question, yeah.
Right at the beginning, you said something about how nobody can become a Buddha without a Lama. But isn't it right that the Shakyamuni Buddha was self-enlightened? So he became a Buddha without a Lama.
You understand? That's the Lama Denmena Sangye Gigopang Tupkimari Nasusung. In a Sangye Gikungisumate, the Sangye Shakya Tupa, Kong Lama La Denure Denyomare.
다들 야샤 야땡여스 아말라이테 코로기 시저 니소메나 요아멘 조레스 코로 소마징엘라 아니 바기 힌두 그타우제 트릴라 템바 코라도 팅인제도 소 jelakirala 타나 처로바 점제도 소 인신 라마테 시소여스
Definitely he had to have relied on a teacher. That we can, for example, we can say that he must have relied on Lama's teachers to help him to learn how to have these high states of concentration, for example.
디마체 아니 다 예담 가서 지름치 그 지든 잠비용라 아니 들이 냠랭이 네도 소트바노지 예담 들이 유지레스
Go Sangye.
산지샤죠.
And so we also say that the Buddha Shakyamuni must have relied on the Yidam, which is these meditational deities. He must have also relied on the blessings of these meditational deities to have achieved the Buddhahood. Diga so di do tangak dislogi di ke perkirang yomoreve. Do tangak kindangla di logi ke per yomoreve.
루지게야.
Do tangak.
요래 다. 다 기도 안에 나를 제나 니만이 손집이 계셔라. 얘는 다들 라마메나도 요아메 요라.
I was asking him that there's also a difference in how it's understood in Sutra and Tantra. In Tantra, it's understood that he is essentially a manifestation of a Buddha and manifested what we saw for our benefit, but he had already been enlightened previously. But Geshe La said that in both cases, you still have to rely on a Lama. That doesn't change.
다 라마 집을 때아서 말에 상기와라 숨질라이 된 거라서 가이스나
그래.
숨질
진짜가 된 거래.
숨질라이 된 거라서 그래서 안에 숨질도 수수 그 냠레지 파기 빅상 베나 안에 컨트롤 안에 조바 감사도 ત디 안 ત디 메나 안에 다 냠레 용 말아.
So it's not just that we depend on lamas, we also depend on sentient beings, right? Without other sentient beings, we would not have anything. We couldn't practice virtue and patience and all these other things that we need. So it's not just that we depend on the lama, we also depend on all sentient beings.
yana 다 디노니 라마 게치셔야 가르잖아. 다 라마데 파 수수기 탑비 콤폴이야 춘케 랑가 땡케데 라마르데요가.
So, but among all of these sentient beings that we rely on, the reason that we say the Lama is the most important is because the Lama is the one who is able to teach us this path to liberation in Buddha. Sure, go ahead, Patty. Just making sure I'm not missing anything online. But go ahead, ask your question.
My question is, how do we incorporate our meditations and visualization in our 6 sessions Guru Yoga, daily 6 sessions of Guru Yoga?
So this is an easy question. Ngatsoti tungchuk, ngatsot namgyungi tungchuk di dupna di nyamlanchena. How do we incorporate visualization, meditation and visualization?
Visualizations into the 6
Okay.
sessions Guru Yoga.
So ngatsoti kanjes tungchuk nyamlanche di gomtang setup, kanjes di incorporate, kanjes di tenyam tu nyamlanche kires. Tungchuk gomtang setup di ngatsot nyam tu kanjes nyamlanche kires.
다티 남지도 단다 안에 텐들라미 남저서라. 대 지바이 살았다. 수수 안에 저도 텐들라미 남저대 당가 나 야부 시기면 마도. 두진총 되나 이게 두진총대 안에 두진총 ሰር다. 대 안에 딜라 안에 딜라 안에 섬께도 안에 겸주도 섬께 내도 또. 겸주 섬께 내도 또니. 다네 안에 나가 자도도 저 무종 제즈나 동가견이 안에 좀비 연구도 와 정치 선비 덴바도 안에 나담 소토가 담바 또 안에 처제도 송기즈네 안에 다 또 니바도 저 다기 사이나 디바샤 다기 열라 데바도 지바다 지도
So I don't know Tantra that well, but it's very, very similar. It's basically the same idea in that you have in the 6 session Guru Yoga you have what's the English the Dorje Chang, I forget the Sanskrit for that. So you have Dorje Chang, and so you're imagining that is your sort of field of merit. So you're imagining Dorje Chang, you're visualizing Dorje Chang, and you're generating bodhicitta, you're going essentially through these same kind of limbs of practice and doing the absorptions and things like that.
다 나기 자동도서 나도 소터 종성 그 자동도서요라 자동서나 동안도서 무종자 수수 안에 던디 지유나 안에 샤바자죠라 디섬로 또 있어라.
And so when you're doing that 6 session Guru Yoga, of course you're taking all of your vows, you're doing the mind, joining the mind of life, and all of these things, right? So you have this same object, this meditational deity, that is your basis of that you're imagining that you're doing all this.
된다도도다 안에 소도 정서 안에 가리고 소도 정서 송하기 안에 담바기 만테쇼 수수 가르치요나 또 두진청 근데라 샤이스니 다 님분다부터 디사레스
근데 그거죠.
두진청 근데라 샤바지기자.
And so all of these things you're doing this on the basis of visualizing this Dorje Chang, this meditational deity. So the outer energy, the chi nangi sangwagi so that the chi wa tang nangwagi the tenigi kebakaris.
chi no sa de ane nga so chuki chi no gi tani a
The tamala, the ngato sol that the mixeme bengun no the mixeme gi nangwa the chi nang sang sol that the chi wa tang
ale on ta chi za de ta chi susu kin chi ne so ju ra
chi tsung ba
친 총바 서치즈디 선바라 수수기 길라 유비 다나 지단이 치부 길라 유비 친지 니서주라 친지 니서데 게레즈도 아니 다리고 잠비요 손다두지도 총바레서요 마도 콘서트 안에 직바 직종rel라모다 콘서트 길라 유바데 다가로 요rel라모다 티도 총다드니 봐 더블 띵군이 인도시야
so tangbo the double
니바데 지마 지진지
유버리
지마 지진지 요바레스
yang the Tsongkhapa 유버리 생각나
말에 종합발라
Tsongkhapa
니마
okay so the first one is the outer is this idea that you were sort of comparing you're saying that the Tsongkhapa the virtues of Tsongkhapa are like the virtues of the three embodiments of love, compassion, and wisdom. On the inner one, you're saying, you're asserting, you're imagining that no, that they're exactly the same, that Tsongkhapa actually has, like very much has these qualities. Okay, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Why is it complement?
Yeah, chitang nangi di kari ning dagi re.
치도
Kari chini di tangbo di chi tsungba sel che ki gone di kari chini chi yang nang yunding de den de ki gone kari chini chi tang nang.
시자데 다 안에
Chilok? Because of the chilok? 거기에
치노 벌써 칠로들에 예나인데 칠로도 파기 치차니 그리고 칠로도 총바 대동 총바제디 치문이 총바 또 뒤다고 있어
So I think the idea the Tibetan you're tungba selche, so it's like you're seeing it from the outside, so you're like, oh, it appears that way. And then the second one, you're actually sort of seeing the inner qualities. I think that's one way to look at it. Does that help? Yeah. I'm curious, 가르치는 것도 디 낭신 디 거림 제기에서 가르치는 당고 중 낭신 열에서 디 여버레스 가르치는 니가 기준.
다들 서완덕도 아니 만다이 제벌 서완덕 더블린덕도 만다 요래서 주라 대동 총바레즈디 수수 파쇼도 영 삼루 도도 로가지
I asked him why you go through this process of like it appearing to be, then it's sort of having. And I was curious about that, and it essentially is a process of making the request stronger. So it's first like, oh, it appears that way. Then you sort of have, yes, it definitely has that way, and so it sort of there's different ways of making this request and they're different strings. Anybody else? Anybody? Yeah. Yes.
This might be a little dumb question, but what we just walked through, it was the summary of what His Holiness taught. Right?
It's what he was supposed to speak about. He didn't speak about it as much. Yeah.
So was he trying to say the importance of having bodhicitta, or was that more like how to cultivate the correct method?
공세적 그 가상기 승주와 그 카레 공기 카레 생성 디 신게 개침포 순발의 양나디 신게 칸디스 개결의 공 순발의
샘께
공기 가상기 그 공세적 그 승주라 신게 골라 공 아침에 공디 장점지 신게 침포 공승발의 양나디 디 심게 디 칸디스 개결의 디 심게 기타 공승발의
상지 기타와
심게 기타
사실은 아니 같이나 다 가서 집어봐는 공산적이 아니 손지 고인라다 섬계도 아니 년지도 섬계자도 아니 돈이 또 비시라자다 반냠래 그 털이즈니 가데나 송도
공기탑.
아
이네 가상디 탑 골라 숭파레 양난디
타고가는 소마서 됐어
티셔.
또 스타로 섬계 걸어 송서 됐어 가서 아니 나서 전시 선비 넘바에 넣어서 전시 선비 넘바지 넣어서 아니 디냠도 연라 덴바 연라 덴바 니도 집어 말에 다 계동 루토도 집어라
네.
이나 간들 하자게 연라 덴바 연라 덴바 지마지가 어디 걸어 송서 아니 섬계 걸어 송서 가서
So he spoke a little bit generally about simgaze, like the generating the mind of enlightenment. He gave the bodhisattva vows, this vows for generating the mind of enlightenment, and he spoke a little bit about the seven limb practice, although not exactly in the same fashion that we did. Is that helpful? No? It's been dinging. No questions? No?
도체
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming.
자
All right.
Thanks so much, Geshe La.
So nobody online, no questions. Okay. Thank you, guys.
도체
Thank you. It's very dark.